Welcome back to the Who's Yanks. We talk everything Canada soccer and U.S. soccer. Tonight we're going to be talking about the recap of the U.S. Women's National Team SheBelieves Cup, their first game against the Czech Republic, and it's scoreless, but the USA does get 1 point. However, it is a disappointing result to the U.S. Women's National Team standards, as well as for pretty sure a lot of USWMNT fans out there. So, unfortunately, they don't get the win as they were. Most people counted on the USA to get a win here and get 3 points here, but they failed to do so. But I mean, as I said, it's scoreless. So before I get into the stats, I want to talk about and give kind of credit to, of course, the Czech Republic, but also talk about what this means for the USA and how I see it too. So 0-0, the Czech Republic have a lot to unpack for this, in terms of just the score alone as well as how they played. So not only did you obviously be happy. This is a historic result for you guys, and I'm speechless for what you guys did to the U.S. Women's National Team. You went toe to toe. The stats won't say that, but on the field, you fought toe to toe, tooth and nail against arguably the number one team in the world, and let alone they didn't even score a goal on you and ended 0-0. So that's something you should obviously be happy about. If you can't take anything else away from this game, this shows that you guys can fight. And, I gotta give credit to you guys for that wow. It just honestly, the Czech performance tonight just takes the words out of my mouth. I don't know what to say. The game started off pretty strong for the USA, but, overall, and I'm seeing a common trend here in terms of teams against the USA, and I'm going to talk about that too, and why this kind of whole game and tournament is important for the U.S. Women's National Team. But it's this result speaks volumes, and the Czech Republic obviously they were low block, and that's the common trend that I'm seeing. The low block tends to give the U.S. Women's National Team a lot of troubles, and whether if it was with South Korea earlier in October or earlier other teams that they played, I'm seeing it. That's the common trend I'm seeing, and that's the U.S. Women's National Team seems to be struggling right now with how to break down low blocks for other teams, and that's an issue as come World Cup and Olympic time. And you're in a transition. Your players are gonna have to know how to do that. That's kind of the gauntlet you run with being the number one team in the world, but hey, you have to adapt and you have to adjust to the problem and solve it. But nonetheless, got to give all credit to the Czech Republic. By the way, their keeper they had hands like glue. She was all over every single U.S. shot, and nothing went past her. Even if it was called offsides or called back for foul, she still saved it, even if it wouldn't count. And you got to give credit to her and just the Czech defense for just digging in and just playing as a bunker, which obviously frustrated and troubled the young U.S. women's team. And there you just gotta tip your hat to the Czech and saying that was well played. Obviously the U.S. women's national team has to be more clinical in the final third, which is what killed them in this game and prevented them from getting all 3 points. But take this. I don't honestly. They're gonna see this tie as a loss, but for me, I honestly see this tie as it's a learning lesson, obviously, showing that, hey, we didn't get the result we wanted, and essentially, at Carson, home of the LA Galaxy at SeatGeek Stadium or Dignity Health Sports Park, we've historically been good there, but that streak has been snapped tonight. But hey, we don't. As Coach Vlatko Andonovski said, we don't look at these results as wins or losses, or draws. Most importantly, they're trying to look from this tournament and games as experience for this transition and these young faces, which that's definitely a good that I'm going to talk about. I'm going to take away that, you have to talk about for the USA. But nonetheless, Czech Republic just played well. And obviously a lot of people going into this game, seeing this game on paper, were like, oh, the Czech Republic, come on, versus the U.S. Women's National Team, easy win, right? Honestly, this was the game as I kind of talked about in my preview video I did the lineup. So I was like, this is one of those mystery games I just don't know what's going to happen. And yeah, it turned out that I mean, I learned a lot from this just watching it, which is why, honestly, I'm not really fazed about the draw as much as a lot of people will be. I mean, given that I didn't know prior to this a lot about the Czech Republic's team and how they played, as well as, I mean, that just shows that you can't underestimate anybody, and no matter how good or bad they are, you just gotta play your game and, I mean, just live up to your expectations. But nonetheless, the Czech Republic really, really impressed me, and I mean, currently ranked the number 24th team overall in the world, and they just went toe to toe with the number one team, and my goodness, did they put up a fight and a show. I mean, hey, I mean, the USA had some bright moments, but the Czech Republic just did all they could. And yeah, I mean, for me, not knowing anything or not knowing any kind of information on how they play, anything about them, I learned a lot tonight. And yeah, I mean, I think they're probably gonna see what they do during the rest of this tournament. And I mean, yeah. But for the USA, I mean, obviously to their standards, this is not the result they wanted. They're currently tied for second place as the current standings. Iceland won over New Zealand, which to me is a shocker earlier, as I thought New Zealand was going to be a little, maybe I'm just overseeing them, but I thought New Zealand was going to be at least more troubling. But Iceland beat them 1-0, which, by the way, Iceland is another one of those teams like Czech Republic that I don't know about, and that's going to be a mystery game. But New Zealand, I kind of know. I mean, I kind of watched a little bit, and they seem like they can put on a fight. And I mean, hey, I think these three teams are going to be good tests overall in the next couple of days for this young U.S. women's national team. And yeah, I mean, it's just going to be good. But obviously, game one didn't quite go the way they wanted. But before I even continue, I mean, yeah, on paper, I mean, everybody thought, I included to an extent, I say, maybe the U.S. will dominate, but, I mean, on stats, yeah, but gameplay, sure, but the Czech Republic just defended well. But let me go, before I get into other points, let's go into the stats. And so, it's 18 shots for the USA for 6, and yeah, the USA outshot Czech Republic. 8 of the shots out of the 18 were on target, while only 1 of the 6 were on target for the Czech Republic. Not clinical. 65% possession, 35% possession. 539 passes completed, 310 passes completed. 81% pass accuracy, 62% pass accuracy. 9 fouls to 10. No yellow card for USA, but 1 for the Czech Republic. No red cards. 4 offside to 3, and 10 corners to 1 in favor of the USA. I mean, now, as I said, obviously, the U.S., this is not the result they wanted, but let's talk. I mean, there are some bright spots, and I mean, hey, I want to talk about those bright spots right now. And so, one of which is Sophia Smith. And Sophia Smith, I mean, she's going to be a problem come future for other teams going against the U.S. As, I mean, she always just dribbles. I mean, this game alone, she was great. She was dribbling throughout the back line for the Czech Republic, the low block, I mean, she was herself finding opportunities to break down that low block. And I think she could be, in terms of this low block problem for the U.S. women's national team, a possible solution. And going forward, if you have one player that can weave their way through the low block system and perhaps open up opportunities, hey, she could be an option. And I would say if she is, you should rely on her more. But other than that, Sophia Smith will be a problem given the current trends that she's going. But once again, you got to give credit to the Czech Republic goalkeeper, as I mean, hands like glue, and the Czech defense just stood tall and just really, really made things difficult and paid off. But Sophia Smith is definitely a bright spot for the U.S. women's national team going forward. And then overall, I mean, I forgot to mention, technically you could you can cut these teams some slack, right? I mean, it's preseason for the NWSL, which means that the players are really not in shape, or they're not fit for play all 90 minutes, or they're not playing on a constant basis. But I mean, I guess you can use that. You could also use it's the first competitive U.S. women's national team game of 2022. So we're kind of trying to rework that chemistry. You can also say, hey, the lineup is still young and they're experimenting, which sounds like was the path that Vlatko Ananoski is taking. That hey, our goal is not necessarily to dominate the tournament, rather than just to gain experience from the tournament. So, I mean, I mean, you take that as a will, and it is good. But obviously, you want to play to win. But it is a learning lesson for sure for the young U.S. women's national team players. But I mean, that's what you have to take away from this game, especially young lineup. However, I mean, it was perfect for them too. You know, young players getting experience playing against low blocks, playing styles, and you're gonna have to get used to that, especially if you're gonna be a top contending team or World Cup, Olympic, whatever title contending team you're gonna be. You're gonna have to get used to going against teams that are playing low block and teams that are just playing, bomb shelter defense against you, just bunkering and hunkering down. That's what's gonna happen. That's what happens when you're a top tier team and everyone's trying to just play their best. And that's exactly what Czech Republic did and what South Korea did back in October. They played low block and then they were patient. And then once they got the opportunity, they played on the counter. I mean, it was a similar game style as what we saw with the Canadian men's national team too against the U.S. They were patient. They played low block, and then when they were patient, when things opened up, they got paid. They were rewarded for it, and it paid off as they beat the U.S. 2-0. So I mean, the low block has been seen to be really a problem for the U.S. women's, which is obviously a situation that they've got to get better at just breaking down. And then again, hey, I mean, these players are young and they have little to no experience playing against a low block playing style, which once again you can also cut them more slack for. So for this, I mean, that's why I'm not really bent all over about this result. As there's just, I mean, there's potential, and then there's also kind of leeway, because you can cut them slack at the same time. I mean, it's frustrating. It's obviously not the result everybody wanted, but me, I try and just look at the positives from this and say, not necessarily look from win, loss, or tie perspective. But I mean, yeah, overall, this was fascinating to watch. As I said, another bright spots. The U.S. women's national team was just very creative. I mean, they were weaving their way in like Sophia Smith. Interesting pick and pops, as they call 1-2 pass give and goes. Combination. They were in the first half, especially. I mean, they just looked really, really fun to watch. Second half, I mean, they kind of kept that up, but things kind of got a little more serious when they noticed that the result that the game was going to, and so that's why the subs kind of came in and more experienced players got their time to shine. But I mean, that's why the kind of flair kind of went away. But overall, I mean, I like to see that creativity from the U.S. women's national team, and that's what these young players bring to the table, as well as they've got speed, and that's something that's really good to take away. And I just like to see creativity, and that was just really fun to watch. I mean, just watching tricks galore, and I mean that's what makes the game fun to watch and entertaining, rather than keep in mind. I mean, obviously, who loves we all love a good blowout. I can't speak today, but we all like a good blowout, and me, I like seeing them put up 5-6 goals past teams. But at the same time, if it is close, I mean, at least be creative and keep the game entertaining, which is at the first half at least, and to an extent, a little bit in the second half, until the 60th minute when things started to get serious. But, I mean, hey, keep it entertaining, bring some flair into the game, which is what they did. Get creative, get crafty, do whatever you got to do. And, I mean, hey, obviously, unfortunately, it didn't pay off, but that just shows the potential that can be found in the U.S. women's team going forward. And then, finally, I just want to end off with saying the next game is against New Zealand. I think this is probably going to be the game, although I could be wrong, as New Zealand lost to Iceland. However, I think this could be the game for the U.S. women's team, where it's going to really expose a lot, and just really, in terms of young talent, we're going to see a lot out of it, But this is obviously going to be the game where I just wished it was later, although, I mean, I happen to be going away, so once again, that'll be a late reaction, but yeah, and that'll be based off of highlights as well. But I just hope that that's the game, or an interesting game, where the U.S. women's national team have a chance to just get tested. I mean, that's obviously these games, given tonight's result, they're gonna get tested, and that's what we want from this young players, inexperienced, talent. You want them to get tested. I mean, you don't just want them to keep rolling over people. I mean, yes, it's fun to watch, but at the same time, what do they learn if they already, kind of basically don't have anything to improve on? So basically, these games, I mean, just biggest thing to take away on the tournament, as Vlatko Ananowski says, and I do agree, is experience. I mean, yes, you want to win the tournament. Yes, you want to win all your games, and hey, heck, if you can, blow them out, But honestly, it's all about just talent and experience and just building. And keep in mind, it's a big year coming up. You got Olympic qualifying and World Cup qualifying in the same year. So it sounds like we're on really, really close to each other, if not the same. But either way, it's you don't got that much time to prepare if you're gonna bring in new talent in a transition period. So this is the time to do it, and if anything, this is the time to make mistakes. And there's no shame in that, in my opinion. I mean, hey, you gotta learn. Everybody starts at some point. You gotta learn, and you gotta take your bumps and bruises. And it's better to take it now in your host tournament rather than later on at CONCACAF qualifying, whether it be for Olympic or World Cup, and then miss out on big stages, which would obviously be an even more embarrassment, as the U.S. women's national team is expected to qualify for every big event. So that's what I would take away from this game is that, hey, I mean, yes, it's a disappointing result, but at the same time, the players are getting these young, inexperienced players are getting experience, and they're getting used to playing against low block playing styles, which is right now seems to be the current Achilles heel for this U.S. women's national team. But hey, we'll see if they can improve going forward in the tournament. But as I said, scoreless draw is disappointing, but maybe the U.S. women's can bounce back from this. So we can only watch. But if you like this video, make sure you like, share, subscribe, tell it with all your friends, share it with them as well. But also tell your friends the USA just wasn't their night tonight, and maybe they can bounce back going forward.